Any questions? How you joy?
Well, I try. Yes. Um, we have had a lot of good moments. Hello there. Y'all have something I forgot y'all are on this thing. Come on, let's kick it.
Let's do it. It's gonna get us out the building. Y'all get to go home early.
All right, I'll take it.
I'm laughing, going, no, I'm here for 6 and 7, so 7 is we have to rezone the grand property because we had to split it in half because they have to. So to do that, you have to.
I think, I mean, we just need to keep that conversation going. And then when we get down to that, to me, it's like, figure out how to ask questions. Yep.
But yeah, no, it was kind of one of those.
Good evening, it's that time. Let me go ahead on and call the Administration and Finance Committee meeting to order. Enforcing prior rules, the senior member have to chair the committee when the chair is not here. So that's how I end up with this role. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Pugh,
Here.
McBride. Here. Livingston,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Walker. We have a quorum.
That brings us to item 2 on our agenda, which is approval of minutes from our May 21st meeting. Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved
Second.
and properly second. In discussion, changes, deletions, there being none, Madam Clerk can call the roll for the adoption of the minutes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker. Motion approved.
That brings us to our the adoption of the agenda. Staff, anyone have any changes, deletions, whatever? If not, I entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda as printed.
So
Approval.
It's moved and properly second. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for the motion to adopt the agenda?
Pugh,
yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver.
Yes.
Motion approved.
That brings us to item 4 on your agenda, which is items for action. Item 4A, Public Works Engineering, Green Hill Parish and Spring Park sidewalk award of construction. Who's going to have that for staff? Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Director Maloney and County Engineer Fuller here to make a brief presentation.
If I may.
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Sharani Fuller, County Engineer for the record. Richland County requested bids from qualified contractors for the installation of a 5-foot sidewalk along sections of Green Hill Parish and Spring Park. On Green Hill Parish, we are putting in approximately 0.27 miles of sidewalk. That's from Uphill Lane all the way to Catawba Trail Elementary School. Improvements include improvements are to existing stormwater infrastructure and also include the installation of 2 school zone speed zone flashing light systems. Along Spring Park, we're putting in over 1 mile of new sidewalk. That's from the intersection of Long Green Parkway to Hobart Road. Improvements to existing stormwater infrastructure will occur here also, and the replacement of an existing speed hump with a raised crosswalk. The low bid responsive bidder was Corley Construction. They are registered SLB and also a minority-owned business. So staff is recommending the award of the contract to Corley Construction.
A recommendation, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have one question. Where the funding is coming from, County Transportation Committee grant. Is that the penny tax or is that something else?
No, sir, that's not the penny tax. We often refer to it as the CTC, but it is a separate group. They manage and distribute the funds collected from gas tax. So they work
Okay.
through DOT, and then they distribute the funding.
Okay. And the road maintenance fund, is that what people pay on their car tax, their vehicle tax bills?
It is.
The
It's from
$35, I think?
20,
Oh, $20, okay. So that's where that's coming from. Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Other questions?
Just for a review, we recommend this, this particular area, parks, the sidewalks to the CTC? Did we recommend that, or that they choose those?
This one actually predates me. I don't know where the recommendation came from.
Anybody know, Miss?
Director Maloney is telling me it came through CTIP, so it would have come from staff members,
County staff?
from county staff.
Other questions? Motion? Reference item 4A.
Motion to approve.
Approved.
Second.
Properly second. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next on our agenda is item 4B, Economic Development Lease Renewal. Mr. Jensen, are you going to handle that one? I think,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Assistant Director Kate Bugby from the Economic Development Department on the line, available to address this item.
have you recognized?
Good evening. So staff is recommending that, we're requesting approval to proceed with renewing our office lease on our current space at 1201 Main Street, Suite 1100. We've been in this space for a few years, and our current lease runs through the 31st, August 31st of 2024. We, in seeking to extend this lease, we did do some searching throughout the Main Street corridor to see if we could find anything reasonable and maybe a little bit less expensive. But unfortunately, we didn't find any other space that wouldn't have required significant upfit and then moving costs as well. So what we are seeking to hopefully do is to sign a 3-year lease extension. The first year of that lease does not have any rent increase, and then the 2 following years have 3% annual escalations in years 2 and 3. Our current space is pretty well situated in the Main Street corridor and allows us to easily communicate with some of our partners who are in the same building, like the Department of Commerce, one of our regional economic development alliances, Central SC, the City of Columbia Economic Development Office, and some other partners as well, and allies like engineering firms, law firms, and rail service providers that are all either within our building or within close walking distance. The building has also suited us well to present the county to prospects when they come in. We've got a nice view there on the 11th floor that kind of allows us to point out different landmarks to folks and just really showcases our county and downtown area in a nice format. Additionally, our staff has grown, over the past year to 18 months, and we hope to continue to grow our staff, but our current space allows for that growth. So we have room to fit in probably 2 to 3 more employees. So I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Much. Any questions? All right, I'll let it.
For approval?
Second, Mr. Chair.
Moving properly second. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for item 4B?
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Brings to item 4C on your agenda, Grants and Community Development, 2024 Annual Action Plan. Ms. Jensen, who's going to handle it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Every year, council sees this item come before them. This is the HUD, Housing Urban Development, CDBG Annual Action Plan, and it actually encompasses more than just CDBG. It encompasses other activities and other grants that the county receives in an annual allocation from the federal government. I have today both Director Harris and Manager Callison Richardson here. They will give you a quick update. In the past, we've, due to timeliness issues, we've had to rush this through, but this year, because we were fully staffed or close to fully staffed, we were able to bring this to the committee before taking it to council. So I want to just say thank you to my staff for the excellent work they've done for getting this turned around so quickly from HUD that we were able to bring it to the committee and then to full council.
Anyone, other comments, reference before us from anyone else from staff?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Chair, may we, would you please recognize Director Harris and give her a few moments?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and good afternoon, everyone. I do want to have Callison come up here because Callison is my right-hand woman, who really has helped change the trajectory of our department. I always have her support. We're working together, trying to get these funds out to the community. And so I want her to answer your more specific questions because really she's in the trenches on this. So Callison, would you come up, please?
Good evening. So glad to be here. And like A.C. Jensen said, for us, it is a really big deal for the plan to be able to come through the committee process, and it actually names a lot of the activities. And the last several years, we've been seriously understaffed and had a lot of turnover. And so we've just had to kind of put buckets before you and then come back later and change the plan and pick it. But you'll see in this, as you could see in the action plan, we've got very specific projects already identified that we think are a great fit for the use of these funds. So happy to answer any questions that you all have about the projects we've selected or how some of them the activities are, one that you'll see is the development of affordable rental housing. So that's more of an allocation of funds that we've set aside. And then we'll do a process for eligible nonprofits to apply for those funds. So some projects are identified, like Vital Connections of the Midlands. We've identified that as an investment there. And then others are more just allocations of funding so that we can identify projects during the next fiscal year.
Questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I recognize.
Thank you. Is there a mechanism in place that the federal government that will allow for adjustments or modifications on these projects?
So there are some very tight parameters with HUD. So, first they give us the allocation amount, and then there are these identified caps. So, you can spend this much on planning administration, and this much must be set aside for nonprofit support and things like that. And then within those kind of parameters, it's been really 2 rounds of getting this right, but we do a big notice of funding availability for the community. We have information sessions for anyone who might be eligible for these funds. And then we actually do a 2-step application process so that they can kind of pitch their idea without investing a lot of time into it. And then we can groom the right projects out of them. In terms of making adjustments later, the answer is yes. So there are prior plans. So for example, CDBG, that's a 7-year grant. So we have 7 years to spend these funds down. But when we had that staff turnover and projects weren't moving forward, funds get built up. And so then you have to amend plans to get them out the door more quickly. So last fall, you guys allowed us to amend the 2021 plan and take funds that were kind of stuck in our minor home repair program. And we were able to do those large rental acquisitions. So we have 2 new rental houses on the market because of that. So is that answering your question about amending it later?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't get to vote on this committee, but I am always very interested in things that affect affordable housing. And so very interested in following this process. I wanted to check in around, I know you kind of mentioned staff was a limitation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that we approved a budget that allows for you all to be fully staffed.
Yes.
and that you all are making some progress toward making those hires so that we can make use of these funds that are available to us.
Yes, absolutely. So a portion of all of our HUD funding is just for administration. So all of my team, including myself, we are not general funded. We are funded through these HUD grants. But I will say thank you for this past year, the general fund, you guys provided an additional accountant for our grants department, and that has gone a huge way. We've drawn 1.5 million in CDBG funds just in the last 2 months because we just have more manpower. But while we made a big step forward that way, I will say our primary central position that runs the CDBG project is called the Community Development Coordinator, and that position is vacant right now. We lost that position. That person moved out of state in April, and we've been going through a hiring process to get that. It's a very critical position for our team, and so we've identified 2 strong candidates and are working with the compensation team to try to bring somebody on board as soon as possible, just because the projects like the Hopkins Park Pool and the Serve and Connect and Green Lakes, those are actively running right now, and I'm doing those. And then the next round that y'all are hopefully approving tonight are starting soon. So this is that, we've got to get that role filled if we're going to keep up our momentum.
Thank you. I know it can be a long process to post jobs, interview, hire, and get people on board. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Talk just briefly about the stakeholders and community folks and how you engage folks and come up with these projects like we did. I think
Yeah,
that's important.
absolutely. So we, a couple of different ways. So we have public hearings throughout. This process to develop this plan starts in January. So we start with a needs assessment public hearing. We have a whole master list of community partners that we have just continued to continue add. We involve the school districts, we involve DSS, and we basically are just saying, what are the needs? And I'll tell you this, we had more public comments received this year than I've seen in multiple years looking back. And consistently across the board, the public comments were affordable housing, seniors, and childcare. Those were the things that they said, this is what LMI families across the county need help with. So we kind of take that, and when we seek these projects, when we evaluate in our scoring rubric, we give priority for projects that are prioritizing housing, seniors, and childcare, which is why you see the project selected. So we actually are putting more in affordable housing from the CDBG side than we've done in a long time. And then the Vital Connections project, which is childcare in 2 locations in the Lower Richland area, and then transitional housing. So you'll see 2 of the projects will help us improve 32 transitional housing units in the region as well. So we take that public input, then that informs our scoring rubric, and then we seek the proposals and sort of select these projects based off of that. And then one more point, we actually use citizens in our scoring process. So we have county employees from other departments who sit on our scoring committees, and then we have citizens from all over the region who also do the scoring. So one of our scores this round was a teacher at Coffin Road Elementary School that we met through the Green Lakes project, and she was so excited about CDBG, we brought her on to help score the next round.
Any other questions? Ms. McGrath, you recognize.
I just wanted to acknowledge them for the use of very good, I haven't seen this one, I've seen the past, for the use of a very good route. And that's what, as we go on to develop our other grants, we need to really work on with that more, because that helps not only the applicant, but it helps the reviewer. So I want to compliment you all on
Thank you. Yeah.
Other questions? Madam, I'm sorry, Mr. Weaver, you recognize.
Thank you. I do have one question here on one of your pages that you handed in here. It says housing construction rehabilitation. It says estimate the number of types of families, 4 housing units. Target date 9/30/25. Anyway, my question is, I guess this is money being made available. It says this activity will continue an existing county program to acquire and rehabilitate affordable housing.
Yes.
Is this the housing that you're rehabilitating? Is this privately owned? Is it county owned? What, if you could explain that a little more?
That's a great question. So if I think probably just for everyone to kind of see the numbers on one page, if you look at page 37, that's that kind of summarized budget, because affordable housing development happens with two of these grants. So the first primary grant is the CDBG. And so you'll see, if you look at the CDBG budget, item number 6 says affordable rental housing development. And what that means is that we've set aside at this point $427,000 where we would open that up for eligible entities, and we work with nonprofits who are in this space, because it's not just that they're going to develop the property, but they have to maintain it and they have to monitor occupancy. So they have to make sure the family that's in that house is HUD qualified and that it's maintained. And we make them, for example, the 2 projects that we're wrapping up right now, South Carolina Uplift is one, and then Reconciliation Ministries. So we essentially assisted them with acquiring the property, and then we give them additional funds to rehabilitate the property. And then their commitment is that for a period of 20 years, they're required to keep it as a low-income rental, and then we're going to monitor that throughout every year for that period of time. And then the rent money that they do collect, and again, it's capped because it's HUD, that goes back into the property, into their programs that they do to assist these folks. So it's not our property and it's not private sector. A lot of times these are just houses on the market that, a nonprofit could say, hey, this is an unincorporated, because our funding is only for unincorporated Richland County. So it's got to be unincorporated, and then they have to have the capacity to manage it as affordable rental. Now, the other thing is that we can do the same thing on the home ownership side. So they would be willing to sort of say, hey, I can rehab this property. We can do new build too. If there was raw land, we can help acquire the land and build something new. And then they would, again, make that commitment 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, keeping it affordable housing, and all within monitoring from our team.
These are private owners of these properties that you're rehabilitating, and in exchange, they agree to rent them at below market rental rates.
Well, we right now we are focusing mostly on the nonprofits who are in this space, who already have the capacity to run. They have a portfolio of rentals. It doesn't mean that a private company couldn't be involved, but at the end of the day, we have to have a nonprofit willing to sort of adopt it into its portfolio to keep it going forward.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, the homeowner, sometimes people want to donate these houses. So if there's a homeowner who's got a property and they want to donate to Homeless No More or something, then we could assist with something like that too.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Newton, you still there? You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question about one of the comments that was just made. It was my impression that originally the county required that these funds only go to unincorporated Richland County, but I thought we had modified our policy a few years ago to also allow places in other municipalities, in part because sometimes these lines are so close together where you're looking across the street and looking at another municipality, and some people were missing out on opportunities. Am I incorrect that policy changed, or did it change back and I missed it?
Well, you're correct that there was an attempt made to establish those agreements, but they did not make it all the way through. So I'll just kind of paint a picture. City of Columbia receives their own set of HUD funding. So we can't invest our HUD funding in their region for these things except for in the homeless space, because we don't have a Transitions or an Oliver Gospel Mission or a Homeless No More in the unincorporated area. So HUD kind of allows us to work with them on that. But municipalities like Forest Acres and Blythewood and Eastover are currently part of the state CDBG program. So they are eligible to apply for these same types of funds, but on the state level. There was an attempt, and we've tried, and I'm in the process again right now of trying to get cooperative agreements with these other municipalities to kind of close the loopholes, because it is really hard when someone calls from Eastover for a minor home repair program and they need a roof and they're just not in our footprint. But when we spoke with Eastover and talking to the Midlands Council of Government, they have been working with Eastover so closely to position them for a very large CDBG grant from the state that we didn't want to pull them into our footprint. Then they're only eligible for this money and they're missing out on the state. So we right now, Councilwoman Newton, that yes, you're correct that was something that we tried to work out. My hope is that we will get there in a few years, that we will close some of these loopholes, because it does make it challenging when citizens live in the incorporated areas and can't access our funding.
Thank you.
Additional question?
Mr. Chair. Thank you. I feel like we're just totally grilling you today.
No, I'm glad to share. I love this stuff, so I'm happy to talk about it.
I've had a lot of conversations lately about affordable housing. I know you all do this all the time. I'm wondering about land trust. Is that something that we can include in this kind of program?
You know, I've been looking into seeing what other HUD communities, entitlement communities are doing with land trusts, and I haven't seen a model that I think makes sense for us yet, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't figure it out. It's just that I'll just be honest, because of turnover during COVID and different reasons, we are playing catch up, and we have just been grinding so hard the last year to get CDBG off the road, and it is flying now. And so this next fall, this is going to be a big push on the Home Investment Partnership Grant. We've got several $1 million of built up funding there that I think could go along with y'all's funding that you've allocated, and that we could figure out a way to leverage kind of both sets of funds. And so I'd love to learn more about how we could maybe fit a trust fund with CDBG or home, but I think it may be more hoops than you want to deal with in some ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I recognize.
With the down payment assistance program,
Yes, ma'am.
so do we have funding available for this year?
Yes, we have $616,000 of built-up funds that are just for down payment assistance. Right now, we have it up to $10,000 in support, but we have talked to some of our sister communities, for lack of a better word, and they are looking at increasing that amount. So maybe a $15,000 down payment assistance, again, only for houses in unincorporated Richland County that would be qualified for the program.
So with the down payment assistance, are we working with the banks or lending agencies, and does it affect mortgage rates in any way to participate in the program?
You know, we are, because of our staffing, which if we can get this coordinator role filled, that will go a long way for us to get back up to full speed. But our goal has been, the program you're talking about, we call it RCHAP, Richland County Homeowner Assistant Program. RCHAP has not been open for the last couple of years. Some of it is because of just the market and all, but we haven't had the staff. Now we have the staff, so we are working on getting it open by October 1. And but we've been, in the meantime, we meet with the lenders, we do, credit counseling sessions and housing counseling, but in terms of actually getting the next set of funds open, it will be October 1.
So we would be very honored if you would let us know so that we can let our constituents know
Yes,
when this become available.
Yes, we will promote it hugely. And I just want to say, so you are aware, the minor home repair program opened in January, and we kind of cleared the backlog of what had happened, and we started taking new applications in January. So we have plenty of funding there for folks that are in the unincorporated area. We do up to $25,000 per house of minor home repair. So if you've got constituents that are needing that assistance, send them our way. We are actively taking applications, and we have projects underway right now.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston, because we do have people that have come to council members, and they talked about the funding that they didn't get in the past.
Yes.
So maybe we could look back on some of those that we hadn't funded if they're still in need.
That's what we did first. So we prioritized everyone who is on a wait list, for lack of a better word, and kind of got them through. And they all had to reapply because, it's all, you have to have current income information. And so we prioritized those first. We got 5 done right at the end of the year. Okay. And then we've got the new group starting now. But if you know some folks, it's first come, first serve. And what that means is the person who turns that complete packet in, they're on the list. And then they become the next house that we work on.
Who should they contact?
Community Development Office we're there every day up there on the 3rd floor. So, yes.
Other questions?
Chairman, may I please get a motion in a second?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Up second, thank you.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston, Weaver,
Yes.
motion approved.
Brings us to item 4D, Community Planning and Development Conservation Historic Preservation Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, Manager Quinton Epps is with us today, and also John, I believe he's here. Thank you, John, who's the staff member who oversaw this process. But very quickly, the Conservation Commission, one of their duties is historic preservation. And this is the first time in many, many years, maybe first time in the county's history, that we have a proposed historic preservation plan that has come out of the Conservation Commission and is before you today for recommendation. And, actually, this is for the bid. My apologies. This is for the bid to pay Ethos Preservation to do the historic plan preservation. But John is here, Mr. John McKenzie, if you'll recognize him.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm John McKenzie. I'm the Conservation Program Analyst with the Conservation Division. And our staff and the Conservation Commission request approval for the development of the county's first historic preservation plan to be a blueprint for the future, especially with our fast-growing county, to make sure we preserve our historic resources in the best way possible. So this was born out of the envisioned ambitious objectives to address goals in our strategic plan, and which was updated last year. And so we've selected Ethos Preservation out of Savannah, Georgia, of course, a very historic area. They have extensive experience with preservation plans, and one of their principals has been the director of historic preservation for Savannah and Chatham County there. And the senior project manager is also got her master's here at USC in historic preservation and worked with Historic Columbia, one of our partners. Their process will involve public meetings to get input, and will focus back to the public for education and inclusion. They will assess the historic trends, our cultural resources efforts, our partnerships and issues and opportunities, and the certified local government program to see if that's a good fit for Richland County. And then their recommendations will include prioritization of preservation areas, the integration with the City of Columbia, enhanced educational outreach and marketing, and will recommend ordinances and policies moving forward. Any questions?
Quick one. Are those funds coming from the $500,000 that's budgeted to the commission?
Yes, sir.
Not, yeah. I'll move. It's moved.
Second.
Proper second. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for the motion, item 4D.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
motion approved.
That brings us to item 4E on your agenda, which is the Community Planning and Development Planning Services 2025 Comprehensive Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, the Community Planning and Development Department put out an RFP for the 2025 Comprehensive Plan. It is, by state statute, the county is required to update its plan, do a full revision every 10 years with a look-in every 5 years. And the last time the plan was adopted was 2015. And so 2025 next year is the year that we need to have a new one adopted. So we've submitted an RFP. We received bids, and the recommended is from, bid was from Nelon, I believe is their name, consultants. And Mr. Price, I believe is here. There he is. if you have any questions, Mr. Price's office oversaw the requesting process, and they will be overseeing the comprehensive plan process once the consultant is selected. If you,
Questions, referee? If no questions, I'll certainly entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Properly second. Any further discussion?
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Very much. That brings item 5 on our agenda. Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
Moving properly second for adjournment. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for the motion to adjourn?
Pugh,
Yep.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Motion approved.
It's adjourned.